All right, so now we're going to go through the process of actually graphing the piecewise function. Okay, so remember, a piecewise function is represented by a combination of equations. So this part right here is, remember, called your restrictions. And these are your two different equations. Okay, so what we talked about in that Desmos demonstration was that I can't have a gap between, like, if I'm going to plug in numbers, I'm going to plug in 2 into the bottom one, and then numbers less than 2 into the top one. And so if I plug in 1, I'm going to get a gap between 2 and 1. So when I look at that Desmos graph, let's see if I can do this time. Okay, I actually need to know where this open circle is going to be. So I'm going to plug in that breaking point into both graphs so I know where that open circle is, because I need to get all these points in between 3 and 4 in my graph, or in this case 2 and 1. Okay, so I need to get all of those in my graph. So this is the process that you're going to go through. Okay, so you're going to have an XY chart for each graph. So I'm going to put 2x plus 1, and this is going to be my XY chart for 2x plus 1. Okay, the first thing I'm going to put in is I'm going to plug in the 2. That's my restriction, that breaking point. Okay, and then I want numbers that are less than 2. So 1 and 0. Next to this 2, I'm going to put a little open circle to remind myself that when I graph it, it's going to have an open circle that is not really there. That's just kind of a placeholder for where that point, what it's getting closer and closer to. Okay, so for this equation, I'm going to plug in the x's into 2x plus 1. So 2 times 2 plus 1. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And then 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then 0, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. So that's going to be my, that first line, okay? The second line is going to have the equation negative x plus 1. And I'm going to have an XY chart for this one. Okay, again, I'm starting at 2, but in this case, because it has the equal sign, this is going to be the closed circle. So whenever I have the equal sign underneath it, the less than or equal to or the greater than or equal to, that's where you're going to have your closed. So less than or equal to or greater than or equal to closed circle. Okay. So now I want x's that are greater than or equal to 2. So 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to plug in those values into negative x plus 1. So 2 negative, so we have a negative 2 plus 1. So negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. And then negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So now I'm going to go over and graph those. So for my blue line, that first one, 2x plus 1, I'm going to graph 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is going to be an open circle. And then 1, 3, and 0, 1. So this side has the line, start at the 2 and draw the way that you started plotting the points, okay? Make sure that you don't continue it going on this side, because that side doesn't fit into that equation. That's x's are going to be greater than 2. Okay, so we needed to make sure that it went in that same direction. Okay, so I always plot that open or closed circle first, and then I draw the line going in the direction of my other points. Okay, so the next line is negative x plus 1. So I'm going to go to 2, negative 1, and that's where my closed circle is. And then I have 3, negative 2, and 4, negative 3. Okay, again, I want to make sure I'm drawing my line down and to the right. Sometimes I see people start drawing it this way. Okay, when you draw it going that direction, then that's not passing the vertical line test anymore. You don't have a function anymore. Okay, that's why those x values cannot go on the other side. Okay, so the x values that you were, the x values over here, less than 2 are on that line. Greater than or equal to 2 are on the red line, the one on the right. And then this would be our graph of that function. Okay, let's try another one. So we're going to graph this function. Notice that this first line is the restrictions are less than 10, and the second one is greater than or equal to 10. So when I see that, this graph goes to 10. So I'm not going to be able to graph that second line if I don't change the scale. So I need to change the scale. What is going to be convenient is up to you. I would go by 2s or by 5s. Since it's a multiple of those. So I'm going to actually go by 5s on my scale. So I'm going to label that graph now so I don't forget. Okay. Now, what we notice is different on this one is this first equation doesn't have an x. Okay. So if I were to see that written outside of a piecewise function, that is y equals 15. Okay, now think about what kind of line is that going to be. Okay, if my y value is always 15. So I'm going to still make my function, my xy chart. Okay, and again, I start at 10 and I want numbers less than 10. So 5, 0. Since I'm going by 5s, I'm going to go by 5s on my x's. Okay, I don't have an x to plug it into, so my y value, it's y equals 15. Every single one of these has to be 15. Okay, and this was a less than sign, so is this open or closed? So that should be open. Okay, so maybe you're figuring out what kind of line that is now. Okay, the next one is 2x minus 5. And I'm going to write my xy. I'm going to start at 10 and it says greater than or equal to 10. So I'm going to go bigger and I'm going to go by 5s again. So now I'm going to plug in those numbers. So 2 times 10 minus 5. That's going to give me 15. And that one is a closed circle. Okay. Then I'm going to plug in 15. 2 times 15 minus 5. That is 25. And then 2 times 20 minus 5. 35. So I'm going to start graphing that. So that first one is 15. It's going to be at 10, 15, 5, 15, 0, 15. So that's giving me a horizontal line. And it's going to continue to be a horizontal line for all x's less than 10. So all the way to the left. That's where that line is going to go. Now when we start graphing this next one, you're going to notice that 10, 15 is where I'm starting. Okay? That means that these two lines actually meet. You don't have to show that one of them was open, one of them was closed. In this case, it doesn't matter where the equal sign was because they meet up. So sometimes you're going to have a jump. Those are two different equations and they don't meet. Okay? But sometimes they're going to meet up, and so you don't really have an open or a closed circle because they meet. Okay? So 10, 15, then we have 15, 25, so this would be 20, 25. And then 20, 35. So that would be up here. So this is that side of the line. So notice that it still only goes to the right. It doesn't go down here because that would not be a function anymore. Okay, so you have the piece going straight over to the left and then the piece going up to the right. Okay, and then we have step functions. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here so you can practice those ones, and then this will be in the next video with the word problem.